everyone, it's Jananie and welcome to the 6th episode of #EpicBookRecs. So this is the monthly series that I host here on the Epic Reads channel where I take a certain theme and I recommend a series of books based on that theme. So if you've missed the previous videos, then don't worry, they're linked down below in a playlist, but today's theme is going to be books with music. So I know everyone loves a good song or a good artist, and I love it when I see books that feature music in it because I feel like although you can't hear the music on the page, you can kind of feel the vibe when it's described to you. So all 5 of the books today feature music as a big part of the book, as a big part of the characters' lives, and all of them are absolutely amazing, and I just really enjoyed every single one of them. So let's just get right into the books. So the first book that I have to share with you today is one that I finished very recently and I absolutely loved. It totally blew me away. And that book is Let Me Hear a Rhyme by Tiffany D. Jackson with lyrics from Malik 16 Sharif. So this book is just a wild ride. It also kind of works like a mystery and I just had so much fun with it. Basically, it follows 3 main characters. So Jasmine, Jarrell, and Qadir. Jarrell and Qadir were the best friends of a boy named Steph, who is Jasmine's older brother. And when the book opens, Steph has recently just died, and all 3 of them are kind of reeling from the impact of his death. But Steph was an amazing rapper, and they all loved his music, and so the 3 of them end up in this crazy concocted plan to keep Steph alive through his music. Jasmine really wants to find out why Steph was murdered and who did it, and Jarrell and Qadir really want to keep their friend alive through his music and get him the recognition that he should have gotten when he was alive. And so the 3 of them end up creating a demo for their friend with the music that he had previously recorded, and he becomes a big deal throughout their community, and they even get close to signing a record deal with a huge record label. But things start to get really difficult when the 3 of them are trying to keep up this charade of Steph being alive as this like great rap star called the Architect, but they can't really produce an actual person who is alive and here in the present. And they run into a lot of problems, and there's also a bit of a mystery with Steph's death, and you are learning a little bit about that. This book is set in Brooklyn in 1998. That was another really cool part about this book. You're seeing a lot of the slang, you're hearing a lot about the rappers from that time, and I just loved every moment of it. And also just the way that the music and the rapping is described in this book was just so much fun. And you also see some of Steph's lyrics in this as well, and I thought every single one of those lyrics were like fire. Like, they were so amazing. And I just really wish that I could have had this music like in real life so I could listen to it, because it was just so amazing to read about it. So really enjoyed this book. Definitely recommend it if you are into rap. If you are looking for a book that's not set in the current day, this was a lot of fun and it had so much heart to it. I loved every single one of the characters and I just want to give each of them a hug because they had their own things going on as well, and they were just trying to make it all work, and just the care that they all had for Steph as a person and all the potential that he had and couldn't make use of after his death was just so heartwarming and endearing, and I just loved every single moment of this book. So I think I mentioned in the previous episode that I was going to start recommending some more sci-fi, fantasy, and not just contemporary, and so the next book that I have here is one of my old favorites. I absolutely love it, and that book is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. So this book is set in kind of an alternate version of our modern day, and it's set in this city called Verity, where the city is kind of split in 2 based on the protection that it's given. And in this version of the world, and especially in Verity, the horrible acts of human beings create monsters. And so there's 3 types of monsters. There are flesh-eating monsters called the Korsai, there are the blood-drinking monsters called the Malachi, and then there are the Sunai, who are the soul-stealing monsters. And this book follows 2 main characters. So the first is Kate Harker, who is a monster hunter, or she wants to be. She is the daughter of this big kind of crime boss in Verity, and he controls half of the city, and Kate has always aspired to be as ruthless as her father and kind of take down the monsters and to earn his approval. And so she's been to 6 different boarding schools in 5 years while her father has been trying to keep her away from Verity, but she really thinks of Verity as her home and she wants to come back, and so she gets the chance to come back and start attending a school back in Verity. And then our other main character is August, who is actually a monster but doesn't really want to be one. So he is a Sunai. He has the ability to steal people's souls, the souls of people who have committed horrible acts of violence, by using music. So August is always carrying around his violin, and he uses his violin to create music that steals souls away. And that is a big part of the music that appears in this book. On the cover you can see the violin there, and also just the fact that it's called This Savage Song. This is a creepy, dark, crazy little book, and it is not as scary as it might appear from the title and cover, but I absolutely love it. It's a really interesting examination of human violence and what it means to be human, and I just loved seeing these two very different characters come together to reach a common goal. This book comes with a lot of twists and turns as well, and just a lot of fun, and just hearing the descriptions of the music in this book is just so beautiful. Sound is a really big thing for August, and you'll see that kind of play out on the page, but definitely recommend this if you are looking for a fantasy, if you're looking for something more on the creepier side. If you like kind of paranormal stuff, this is also a great read for that. Okay, the next book that I have to recommend to you today is one that I read very recently, but it actually came out quite a while ago, and that book is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. So there was a movie for this. I have not seen the movie, but I absolutely loved the book. Basically, it follows our two main characters, Nick and Nora. You hear the story from their perspectives in kind of this stream of consciousness narration style, and I absolutely loved it. But you're following Nick and Nora on this one night in New York. The two of them end up in this same club at night. Nick plays in a band, and Nora is the daughter of this huge record label owner, and both of them are coming out of some terrible relationships. And so when Nick sees his ex in the club and asks Nora, who's standing next to him, to be his fake girlfriend for 5 minutes, although she's totally against it at first, she sees the mutual benefit for herself because of other things that are going on that night. And so the two of them end up kind of pretending for a little bit there, but circumstances kind of change, and the two of them end up hanging out throughout New York in the middle of the night for most of the night and falling in love. And it's such a weird and awkward and cute love story, and I really enjoyed every moment of it. But music is a super big part of this book. Nick is obviously part of a band. He also writes music, but the two of them also vibe a lot over their mutual love of certain bands, of certain punk bands. And there's just a lot of references to like 90s and early 2000s music. So I absolutely loved it. It was really, really great. And it's also a fun whirlwind kind of romance, but also with a lot of awkward and funny and crazy bits to it. So if you are looking for a funny, awkward love story, then this is definitely the book for you, with also some really great music references. All right, the next book that I have here deals with music in a more kind of traditional classical sense, and that is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. So this book is also a bit of a fantasy, and it follows our main character, Liesl, who has always grown up with these stories of the mysterious and elusive Goblin King, and he has always inspired her dreams and her musical compositions. So she does compose music, she does play the piano, but it's her little brother who is the prodigy in the family, and her whole family has been throwing their support behind her younger brother, and so Liesl has kind of been pushed to the side. And so she is helping her family run the inn that they own when her younger sister is stolen away by the Goblin King. So she's heard stories of young women being stolen away by the Goblin King, but she never thought it was real until it actually happens to her younger sister. And so Liesl makes it her mission to go down into the underground to find the Goblin King and bring her sister back. But along the way, she might encounter a bit of a romance, and music is also a really big part of this, a really big part of who Liesl is, also a big part of who the Goblin King is. There's a lot of parts where Liesl is playing music, she is playing the piano, she is writing music, but this is also a really interesting and mysterious and kind of sexy romance as well. So I really, really enjoyed it. It's very much an enchanting tale, and I definitely think you'd like it if you like fantasy and a little bit of classical music. All right, and the last book that I have to recommend to you today is another book that I read recently and absolutely loved, and that book was On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. So if you don't know, Angie Thomas is the author of The Hate You Give, which I absolutely loved, and so I went into this knowing I would probably love it, and I was not wrong. I really did enjoy it. So this book follows her main character, Bree, who wants to be a rapper. It has always been her dream, but she comes from a very poor family. They've been struggling with money for a while, and she's also dealing with the racial relationships in her community and at her school, and she's also dealing with the fact that a lot of the people at her school are labeling her as a hoodlum and making assumptions about her because of her race. But when Bree ends up in a kind of violent situation in her school, she ends up writing a song about it called On the Come Up, and that song becomes viral, and people are listening to it in her neighborhood and across the country, and it starts to gain traction in her life, and it starts to affect the way that people see her, and people start to see her as more of a menace than an MC. This is a book that examines a lot of things, but also Bree is dealing with so many things in her life. There's a lot of family stuff that's going on, and I just really loved this book. I really loved seeing Bree and her family and her relationship with her friends as well, and also just seeing the perseverance that Bree shows towards her dream. I thought that that was really endearing, and also the way that she really cares for what's happening with her family, you know, the fact that they can't pay all of their bills or put food on the table all the time. Bree is trying her hardest to kind of pull her weight in the family, and that was a really endearing part of her character. I really enjoyed this, and I definitely think if you enjoyed The Hate You Give, you'll probably love this. But music was also a really big part of this book. Bree's rapping is really huge. You get to read a lot of the raps that she comes up with in this book. She's really quick with her rhymes as well. She can come up with a rap on the fly, and it's just so amazing. And half the time I just wish that I could like have an actual song like that I could listen to when I'm not reading this book, because I thought a lot of them were just super great. So really love this, and definitely recommend if you like rap music, if you liked Angie Thomas's previous book. Really great. Alright, so those are all the books that I wanted to recommend to you today for this episode of Hashtag Epic Book Recs. These were all books with music that I really enjoyed and thought that you should definitely pick up, because each one of them was a wild ride, and I couldn't stop imagining the music that was in each of them. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of Hashtag Epic Book Recs. Bye!